Delegates, I'd like for you to please welcome my good friend, colleague, a great labor leader, someone who has been engaged in Florida's labor movement for a long time, the president of the Florida AFL-CIO, Mike Williams. So before I turn the mic over to Mike, it's a new dad joke. Before I do that, I want to show you my gavel. Okay, this is my gavel. Mike's gavel is about 100 times bigger than this gavel. So if you've ever been to the AFL-CIO convention, you've seen it. And when I say that, it is like this big. The hammer on it is bigger than this. So Mike knows how to run a meeting, and he's going to introduce our next special guest. Mike?
Good morning. My brothers and sisters of the Florida Education Association, how great it is to be with you this morning. Good morning. You know, first, before I introduce Liz, let me just really talk about what all of you are doing for families in the state of Florida, public education, and the challenges we're going through in many different arenas right now. And what a great leadership you've got making that happen. Andrew Spar, how wonderful. Thank you, brother. Carol, Nazi, how great. Thank you. I can't tell you how exciting it is to have President of the National AFL-CIO, Liz Shuler, here with us this morning. You know, I don't have to have a piece of paper in front of me to read from to tell you about Liz, because I've known her a long time. You know, Liz is from Oregon, grew up in a union family. Her dad was a lineman in local IBW Local 125. Her mom worked for the same company doing estimating work. Liz is a graduate of the University of Oregon, the Ducks, and if you follow college football, the Quack Attack. But Local 125 hired Liz to do some organizing in their area. And actually, that's where she got her experience, first experience for boots on the ground and what it really means to mobilize and motivate local community, local workers for better things, that organizing experience. And then Enron came into Oregon to try and deregulate the electrical industry, and she led that fight and defeated them in the state of Oregon against all those millions of dollars and big lobbyists they had. Ed Hill at the time was Secretary-Treasurer of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. He recognized the talent and brought Liz on staff and assigned her initially to California, where they had that proposition on paycheck protection. And Liz led the fight and defeating that in the state of California. What a great job it was done. And then they brought Liz to D.C. at the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers office, where she worked in the Legislative and Political Affairs Department. When Ed Hill became president of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, he brought Liz along with him as his #1 chief executive assistant. From there, she was elected, and mind you, the first woman elected as Secretary-Treasurer of the National AFL-CIO in 2009. And more recently, if there was ever a tougher, thicker, harder glass ceiling to shatter, President of the National AFL-CIO this past June. Elected by acclamation, Liz Shuler, President of the AFL-CIO. You know, Liz was down with us 4 years ago during the election cycle. She and I rode around the state, and we got to know each other even better when you spend hours in a car, just the two of you going from place to place. and was visiting people that were doing canvassing, our sisters and brothers, phone banks, doing mail-out work. And she sat right there with everybody and participated, part of the team, never forgetting where she came from. That's the kind of leader we have in the AFL-CIO, never forgetting where she came from, doesn't mind putting her boots on the ground with everyone else, and standing up to those forces that want to do away with public education and labor unions as a whole. Our great leaders stand up for us every day, every night, never quits, never stops. She's always there. Please welcome President Liz Shuler.
Thank you, 16. Yes, sir. Here's the double. Jeff snaked one of them away from you, but you found the second, Chris.
5,200.
For 5,200, you're cluing union people. In 2021, Teachers Union head Randy Weingarten seconded the nomination when Liz Shuler became this federation's first female president.
I love the energy. I didn't know I was going to arrive at a dance party at 9 in the morning. I love it. So thank you, thank you. It's such an honor to be with you. I've been crisscrossing the country because, as you know, we have 24 days left in this election. Anybody paying attention to the election? Yeah. It's a trick question, of course. So thank you so much for having me this morning. And Andrew, I just cannot thank you enough for your leadership. He wears so many hats, including AFL-CIO hats, and is there every time. And I just want to say thank you for being such a great partner. And to Carol and Nandi, what a top drawer leadership team. And look at these power women, right? It's a tradition here. And I just want to say also thank you for just being a talent pool for the national labor movement. Having fed in Washington, D.C. has been such a joy. And of course, thank you, Mike Williams, our Florida AFL-CIO leader, who is tireless, and he is the president of the FEA fan club. I'm the vice president, but he's the president. But first of all, I just want to thank you all in this room, because our educators, our ESPs, our higher ed, you're the heroes of our communities. And I just want to say thank you on behalf of our country, because I have seen it. I'm public school proud. I'm public school proud. And you are there when disaster strikes, literally, but also figuratively, whether that's a pandemic, whether it's the aftermath of Hurricane Ian, you rush in. You're taking care of kids in need. You're out there offering assistance. You're pulling together bags of food for families who've lost everything, because that's what we do in the labor movement. We rush in. We show up. Ask Mike Williams. He's, of course, leading a lot of the disaster relief across the state. But, we're the ones who are restoring power. We're the ones who are offering aid and donating the food and the gas cards and, anything and everything our communities need. And we're helping people rebuild their homes. And I don't think people see that it's the labor movement that is out there every single time. And that is the true meaning of solidarity. That is the true meaning of solidarity. That's what we're about. And it's so exciting to finally see people across the country waking up to what the power of a union means. Have you seen this? The Gallup polls, 71% of the public approves of unions. It's been almost 60 years since it's been that high. And it's no wonder we're seeing all this organizing happening around us. Are you seeing it? Are you feeling it? what industry people are working in. Just this summer alone, we saw organizing drives by nurses in Austin, Texas. We saw REI workers in the Bay Area, aircraft mechanics in North Carolina, researchers at Mount Sinai Medical School, museum workers, architects, even workers in cannabis, from seed to sale. All right? That one, you know, everyone just loves cannabis. I mean, not literally, but, you know, some people do. But, you know, it's this idea that there is no workplace off limits for organizing. And our newest affiliate to the AFL-CIO, did you hear, the Major League Baseball Players Association, just organized 5,000 minor league players into their union, and they came into the AFL-CIO because they know that the power of solidarity knows no bounds. And those minor league players were making on average $13,000 a year to pursue their dream. Obviously working 2 and 3 jobs to do it. So that's what the power of the labor movement brings. And not to mention all the internal organizing you're doing, which I saw the awards. It's incredible. So the point is, we need to take all this momentum that's building across the country and capture it and use it to grow our movement into the future. And I don't know, there were a few of you in this room that went to our AFL-CIO convention in Philadelphia in June. We announced a goal: organize 1 million new members over the next 10 years, okay? A lot of people are like, oh, only 1 million? I'm like, this is a floor, not a ceiling, folks. Make it 2 million, make it 5 million. The point is, we have to set a goal and we have to hold ourselves accountable. And so we're gonna organize. We're gonna push our doors open wider than ever and welcome everyone into our movement, especially more women, more people of color, LGBTQ, young people, immigrants, returning citizens. Everyone is welcome in our movement. And I think that everyone should see the labor movement as a movement for them. What do you think? That's right. Because I know how a good union job can be life-changing, and so do you. You've seen it, right? A union job changed my family's life, and Mike mentioned it. You know, my dad grew up in a 1-room fruit-picking shack in the Hood River Valley in Oregon. They worked in agriculture. And he and his 4 siblings often went hungry. And right after graduating from high school, he enlisted in the Marine Corps and got sent straight to Vietnam. Hoorah, someone out there. When he came back after his time in Vietnam, he needed a job. And he found one at the local power company, Portland General Electric. And those were the days where people went to work for a company and they worked there for 30, 40 years, and it was generation after generation. So my mom worked there, I worked there, my dad worked there. But when my dad joined the company, he was hired on as a hole digger when they used to dig the holes for power poles by hand. And it was a power lineman's apprenticeship that put him on the path to a good union job. And that changed our family's life in 1 generation. In 1 generation, we had a roof over our head and we had enough to eat. That is the power of a union. And everyone should know that power. And I know the same is true for so many families, and you all have your own experiences and stories and can relate. But everyone should have that life-changing path to the middle class. And the way we do that is the way unions do everything, and that is together. That's right. We're going to band together, and we're going to take on the big corporations who are making billions in profits but can't seem to find an extra dollar for the working people who actually made those profits possible, right? We're going to take on industries like the gig economy, where companies call themselves platforms, and they don't have to be responsible for paying good wages and health care benefits, and they leave workers on their own. We want to organize together and take on the kinds of fights like Amazon. That's right, Jeff Bezos. We're coming for you. That's right. Jeff Bezos makes in 7 seconds what the average Amazon worker makes in a year. That is unsustainable. That is not who we are as a country, and we're going to change that. That's right, because we're going to come together, because not one union alone can take on Amazon. It's got to be all of us. So we're at an inflection point in this country, folks. Are we going to continue to reward the top 1% and leave the rest of us with the crumbs? No. That's right. Are we going to see that inequality gap widen or shrink? Are we going to take care of the people who got us through this pandemic, like our educators and our ESPs, who made sacrifices and helped families and students through the worst of times, despite the odds? You pivoted. You pivoted fast on a moment's notice. And it's clear your governor doesn't get it. Your governor has his own agenda, and it is not to take care of working people. Instead of rewarding your sacrifice, he's trying to suppress salaries and benefits, which leads to staff shortages and overcrowded classrooms. And that's on top of crumbling infrastructure and air conditioning that's failing. And yeah, all while diverting resources to private schools and religious schools, right? I didn't hear you loud enough on that one. Yeah. Governor DeSantis has directly attacked your ability to do your jobs. By signing the Erase History and Don't Say Gay bills, he's telling you what you can or can't say or can and can't teach in your own classrooms. Banning books, I mean, they'll stop at nothing. They'll stop at nothing. Governor DeSantis didn't get the memo. It's the dedicated teachers and professionals on the front lines in the classroom who know best how to support students, not politicians. And there's no better example than your governor that illustrates how important this election is. We're all watching what is happening here in Florida, how important it is to fight to elect leaders who share our values. And we have the chance to do that in 24 days, to show the country, show the world. By electing Charlie Crist, our next governor, with one of our own, Carla Hernandez-Motz, as lieutenant governor, who is here. I saw her earlier, and it's just such a joy to watch her on the campaign trail. It truly is. But think about how that would change your state, your schools, your lives, your students' lives. And you know better than anyone how important those down ballot races are for local school board, for the state senate, the House. They're even more important. So we can stop these destructive bills in Tallahassee in their tracks. So you're at the epicenter here in Florida. But we also have to fight to keep and expand our pro-worker majority in Congress and in Washington, D.C. And that's why we need you to send Marco Rubio packing and send us Val Demings. Can you do that? Please, please, I beg you, please do that. In 2020, think back, it seems like ancient history, but our movement organized and we fought together and we stood strong and we delivered that pro-worker majority and that pro-worker president we have in office now, the most pro-union president in history with the Biden-Harris administration. You did that. Now we're seeing the results. Now we're seeing the results. So just look at the Inflation Reduction Act. That's the most recent victory. You've heard about it, right? Just passed in August. That's the bill that's going to help us strengthen the middle class, protect our environment, cut the cost of prescription drugs and healthcare premiums. And so this is a huge, huge win for seniors, for working people, for future generations. And because we as a labor movement fought to include labor standards to make sure those are going to be good jobs that'll be created, we fought for domestic content or Buy America so that all the manufacturing is made here in the United States. It means our tax dollars are going to be used to benefit us and create millions of good paying, family sustaining jobs. And that's just the most recent victory, folks, because you know, Inflation Reduction Act, we know about that. What about the CHIPS bill? You hear about that one? Hundreds of thousands of more jobs across the country in our domestic supply chain, manufacturing semiconductors in this country, right? And before that, the infrastructure bill. Remember that one? Investing billions of dollars in our roads, our bridges, rail, electric vehicle charging stations, clean drinking water, high-speed internet, oh yeah, and in our classrooms to get our school infrastructure where it needs to be. So those investments, again, creating good union jobs. Oh, and not to mention the American Rescue Plan before that, right, which helped us recover from the pandemic, and the student debt forgiveness. And I know Randy Weingarten and Becky Pringle have been relentless on that issue. And I've heard them talk about the stories. They are absolutely heartbreaking. You know, thinking about what teachers have gone through, struggling under debt. And no one should be put in a position where they're considering suicide because of the debt they're drowning under. And this debt forgiveness that Biden has issued is going to bring real relief and take a huge weight off your members' shoulders. So you did that. And these are huge wins. These are huge wins, folks. But I have to tell you, and this really worries me, that not many other people out there know about them. All of those things I just mentioned are huge wins. And I saw a poll recently that only 1 in 4 people even know the infrastructure bill was passed. And that includes our members, right? And I was just talking to a woman the other day at a convention who picked me up at the airport. And this was one of the leaders of this union and someone who's an activist and a steward. And you know, she's working 12-hour days, 6 days a week. She's got a 6-year-old. And we were talking about all these victories because, you know, we're really excited about them. And, oh, we're going into this election. We need to talk about these to our members. And she said, oh, yeah, I'm not really familiar with that. I'll have to look that up. And she said, and, you know, the Biden administration really hasn't done anything for me. I mean, it was a wake-up call. This is an activist. And even our activists don't know what's in these bills and what the administration is delivering for us. And so we need to make sure our members know about these incredible victories, our victories. And the elected officials and the candidates connect them back. Because that's how we got them, to show our members why elections matter and how it will impact their daily lives. Because it's never been more clear to me after talking to that steward, we can't just put a write-up in a newsletter and send it out and expect that people are going to read it and know. Can't just send a text message, right? We need to be talking to our members face to face, which you do, obviously, every single day. But we only have 24 days left to talk about those candidates that are going to have our back. And even less time if you're voting by mail, because those ballots are already out. But that is the most important thing you can do when you leave here. And that's why I wanted to be here today, is to encourage you to have those face-to-face conversations, because the union movement really is the only movement that can do it. We can reach real working people in actual workplaces all across this country. Talk to people face-to-face, which doesn't happen anymore when people are in their social media vortexes. So that, quote, relational organizing, it's what we do. It's what we do. And I know it's difficult, trust me. It's pretty polarized out there, right? I know, I hear it, I see it. But if anyone can bridge this divide, if anyone can open people's ears, it's us, the labor movement. It's you. So we have to go all in this election. And we have just over 3 weeks left. 3 weeks, folks. It's making me very nervous. I don't know about you. But we need to know that we did everything we could to deliver victories this November. And I know that you're already showing up. You're already putting in the work. But we need to double down. Now is the time. And as we've seen over the last year, organized labor can beat big money any day of the week. We've done it. We've done it at the workplace, and now we're doing it at the polls. And we're going to have those conversations. We're going to knock on doors. We're going to make those phone calls. Whatever it takes. Are you ready? You ready to make those calls? Yes. We need to spend every single day from now until Election Day fighting for each other, fighting for our democracy, fighting for our future. And when we use our voices as a movement, when we get union members out to vote, when we vote, we win. So let's keep organizing. Let's keep mobilizing. And I can't wait to see where we go from here, Florida. Thank you so much.